I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpm.fm to discover more.
Hi, I'm Terrence Mann. Welcome to the Theater Podcast with Alan Seals.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Theater Podcast with me, Alan Seals. This week I got to sit down with the one and only Terrence Mann, and if you've ever listened to the original Cats cast album on repeat like I did growing up, or even if Les Mis was your Broadway gateway drug, then you already know the impact this legendary performer has had on the theater world. We dig into everything from like the wild mystery of the opening of Cats itself in 1982, and nobody had any idea of what the heck it even was, to how a last-minute audition for Les Mis turned into a career-defining role as Javert. Terrence shares how his musical childhood shaped him, the path through North Carolina that launched his career, and now, of course, returning to Broadway in The Great Gatsby. We also geek out over the science of space travel thanks to his role as Brother Dusk in Apple TV's Foundation, and he drops some truly powerful advice for actors, such as, have no fear, there are no wrong choices, and be specific. So be sure to follow the podcast on all the socials. Leave a rating, leave a review if you like the podcast, Spotify and Apple both, of course. Check out Patreon for the video version of this episode. And now everyone, please enjoy this episode with the man, the myth, the tugger, Terrence Mann.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
Our guest today is certainly a curious cat, a true Broadway legend who originated the role of Rum Tum Tugger in the original 82 production of Cats.
Yeah,
he originated Javert in the original 87 production of Les Mis, Beast in the 94 production of Beauty and the Beast, and has been in the original casts of Pippin, Addams Family, Scarlet Pimpernel, Tuck Everlasting. Ooh, his TV and film credits include all 4 Critters movies, As the World Turns, Loving, Sense8, 30 Rock, Smash, and Foundation, one of my all-time favorite shows where he plays Brother Dusk. He's now back on the Broadway stage in a limited engagement in The Great Gatsby, and there's no doing anything about it. Terrence Mann, welcome to the Theater Podcast.
Oh my God. You ought to get out there and get in one of them shows, one of those touring shows of Cats.
I could. Do you think I'd be a good tugger? Coming from the man here.
I think you'd be a great tugger.
Hey, wait. You are Terrence Mann. You are the man.
Well, with 2 ends. Yeah.
So, all right. So I've got a really tough icebreaker question to get us going. Were you blind when you're born? Do you see in the dark? All right, no more Cats puns.
That's very heady. That's like, yeah, you probably do.
I have tons of cats. No, I actually originally I was like, what is Cats about? But this is interesting to me because I'm going to go here first because as the original part of the original cast, like now we know Cat, we have the lore, we have the fandom, we have the music, we know Cats now. This is 2025, we know Cats, but this is 82. You're opening it. You're like, what is this? X Factor and American Idol didn't exist yet, so you had nothing to compare it to, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
What the hell was going on in everybody's mind when you're like, what are we about to open?
Right. Well, I saw the show in London because I auditioned for the show in America in London, as it happens, which is a whole nother story. But we just heard this show, this thing, this book of poetry by T.S. Eliot about cats that they had done. Trevor Nunn and John and Gillian Lynn had done. You go, what is that? So I go to the New London Theater and I go, okay, I'm going to go see this. And some of my friends had seen it in London when they were on vacation. They said, you won't believe it. I mean, you walk into the theater and everything is cat size. I went, what? So it was kind of like the first environmental experience of theater, I think, as well, where you're immersed in it. And so I go to the theater and I walk in, and sure enough, there's, soup cans is half as tall as me and garbage and old tree limbs and shit. And all of a sudden you go sit down in your seat and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I feel something here, and it's just a cat looking at me with all of this
green
makeup
eyes?
on. Yeah, with the green eyes.
Green eyes, yeah.
And I'm going, wow. Now, it's 1981 at that.
One, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it was 81. Maybe 82 still. But you're going, this is just like a children's musical up on steroids, or they gave us acid and we didn't know about it when we walked in the door. But it was a revelation, and it was exciting and fresh and unique and crazy, and the storytelling about going to the Heaviside layer, you kind of go, okay, all right, we're gonna feel for this cat that should go. So I don't know, but in its day, it was something that never been seen before.
And even today, it's still something that people love to go see. Even new generations. Like I grew up on it. I was 1 in 1981, and listened to my mother. The record. She had the record and would play that nonstop. And so I grew up, like, the Cats cast album was probably with you on it, now that I'm thinking about it, was probably what I grew up listening to.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool. I just put that connection together. I was like, holy shit, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And of course, originating Javert in Les Mis. I mean, you have such a career of originating roles that don't leave our zeitgeist.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good, or just be in the right place at the right time. I don't know. I mean, I was there doing Barnum. I got lucky very quickly when I came to New York. I was in New York 2 weeks, and I got into Barnum because I knew the director from another project. So it's who you know, when you know them, and how you know them that you get there. Now, sustaining all of that through decade after decade after decade, that's a whole nother thing. But certainly in the 80s and the 90s, I was very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time.
Well, okay, let's rewind then and keep going down that path, because I know we share some North Carolina roots, but is that where you're from?
I'm from Kentucky originally.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So then, little Terrence, where did you get into performing, acting? Was it singing first? Was it just stage acting?
No, my mom and my dad, both of them were musicians, like avocational. My mom could play guitar, play piano. She wanted to be a concert pianist, but that never happened. But she could rock and play boogie woogie and play jazz stuff. And my dad was a barbershop quartet singer, and he could play guitar. So on the weekends, there was always upstairs, there was mom with the piano and her girlfriends and some people, playing all the good stuff, all the standards, and all the jazz licks and boogie woogie. And my dad was downstairs with the 4 guys singing harmony. So we just wandered around from room to room saying, we're musical. Let's go be musical. Let's do that. And so we were required, when I was in 3rd grade, we had to take an instrument. We could change it every year, but we had to start taking an instrument. So my first instrument was the flute. Because
Natural?
The band director, you would walk up in front of the band director, he would look at you, he would look at your mouth and your face, and you'd go, saxophone, trumpet, flute.
He was essentially the Sorting Hat of your day.
He was. Exactly. He was the Sorting Hat of our day, yeah.
Slytherin! Flute.
Slytherin! Yeah, so that's how we kind of just grew up, being musical. And I was a pretty wild kid. I don't know whether it was ADHD or ADD or just too much coffee at a young age. I don't know. But we were always jumping around and playing music. And I played in the band, the school band in high school. And I'd acted in some of the plays at church. So when my guidance counselor said, "Are you going to college?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Do you know what your major is?" And I didn't really think about it. I said, "I'm going to be an actor." It just flew out of me as the obvious. Huh. And so I went to this time we were living in Florida. We'd moved to Florida from Kentucky. I went to Jacksonville University. Then I went to the North Carolina School of the Arts 2 years later. Stayed there for a little bit, left for a little bit, came back, graduated, went into the North Carolina Shakespeare Festival. Then came up to New York and then the rest is history. I was here for a couple of weeks and got my first Broadway show.
I grew up in the foothills west of Winston-Salem, which you, of course, know with NCSA. So I grew up in Wilkesboro, North Wilkesboro.
Of course,
So
I know
you
Wilkesboro.
just keep going west on Highway 421, and then you find a stoplight. That's my town.
There you go. Only one.
Only one. Well, it's unlike miles and miles of open highway. We're just like, we're just going to put a stoplight here so we don't miss our NASCAR.
Yeah, don't blink.
'cause
Yeah.
That's where NASCAR was
yeah.
invented. Little known fact.
That's right. That's right.
But then, so the North Carolina portion, okay, so keep walking me up chronologically then, because you left, came back, you came to New York, and then, so you came to New York. If you want to be an actor, why not go to LA? Because this is the time, this was late 70s, early 80s, right? So where you still have to go to LA for film, and then New York is theater, and never the twain shall meet until, 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I was a big theater rat. I only wanted to do theater. Only ever wanted to do theater. Film and television, I really wasn't that interested in, because that theater's immediate, and it's an actor's medium. All the other mediums are directors' mediums.
Interesting. But you've done directing. You've directed The Lost Colony and whatnot in North Carolina, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about like film and TV mediums. Those are all directors' mediums for the most part. But I slowly, but moved into that. I went back after I was in Cats. A friend of mine from Raleigh called me and wanted to start in the North Carolina theater, and she wanted to do musicals and not bring in road shows, but generate them from there and bring people from New York, and so I helped her start that theater in 1986. NCT.
You helped start NCT?
Yeah, we did it our first year. We did it. I went down and played. We did what do you call it? Camelot, and
wow.
I directed it and played Arthur in it. And
pour one out for NCT. They just folded recently.
I know,
man, and that was where I had my very first professional gig.
No,
yeah,
wow,
yeah, with Casey Nicola as my director.
Yeah. And Casey Nicola was in Annie with me as a dancer, down there.
Oh man. So okay. I love these North Carolina roots. So I want to touch on the Lost Colony for a second, because I love that's just like one of the staples, I think, of North Carolina theater when I think of like permanent things, because every summer the Lost Colony has been there for how many years now?
1937.
Whoa, like really?
Yeah, that's when it first started.
No kidding. I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah. It started as a pageant. It was just like to celebrate, on the site where the Lost Colony was, to celebrate the birth of Virginia Dare, and it was a pageant. Then it slowly grew into much more of a event of music and storytelling and that. And then Joe Layton, who is the guy I worked with at the Lost Colony, came and took it over in the 60s, redid the script with Green, and turned it into a real musical, kind of outdoor musical on 3 stages. And that's, and then I was in it. I got into the Lost Colony because when I was at Jacksonville University, this is so old, my acting teacher, Bob Knowles, was the production coordinator for the Lost Colony. And at the end of my first year of college, he said, "Do you want to go work at the Lost Colony on the Outer Banks of North Carolina?" I didn't know what the hell that was. I went, "Yeah, sure." You get paid $35 a week. Well, 25, because 10 of it has to go to rent.
Right. $10 of rent.
So that's how it started.
That's crazy. All right. So then come up to New York, and you come up here, and how did you get started in New York City at that time? Because I love hearing all of the stories of how people, I'll put it in air quotes, made it onto Broadway before emails and social media and digital this and being able to slip into DMs, right? Like this was a whole different game.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was who you knew, when you knew them, how you knew them, and literally, Joe Layton I'd been in 5 seasons of The Lost Colony with him down there, and I used to direct the children's theater down there, and I'd come up to New York to visit my girlfriend I was with Shakespeare Festival, North Carolina Shakespeare Festival. We had some time off from January to April. So I came up to New York to visit my girlfriend, and I was looking at the trade papers, and it said Barnum, directed by Joe Layton. Auditions at the Minskoff Theater. I went, oh, well.
When they used to audition on stage.
On stage. So I said, I'll just go down, go to the open call, see what happens. I have a job in North Carolina doing Shakespeare, which I love, but I'll go down there. Maybe I'll see Joe, say hi. I go down to the Minskoff. As he's walking in, I'm walking in. We literally bump into each other at the revolving doors. And he goes, Terry, what are you doing here? I said, I'm going to come audition for you, if that's okay. He said, sure, come on. So I went up there, and he just made sure I made the cut of about 200, 200 guys who came in. He just kept making sure that I would make the cut every time. Because I could. He said, can you juggle? Can you do circus stuff? And I said, yes, I can. Now, it so happens.
Was that true?
That was true. Because I had graduated from the School of the Arts, and my last year was a lot of circus training. Teeterboard, slack wire, juggling, mime.
No kidding. I didn't know they did that.
Yeah. In the show Barnum, we were juggling 6 clubs and big arcs over Jim Dale. So that's how I got the job.
That's insanely cool.
And very cool. Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the episode. And then at that point, so you had to leave Shakespeare in New York. Did you stay in New York because you had the job there, like after Barnum? Or did you go back to North Carolina?
Nope, I just stayed in New York. Oh, no, well, I may have gone back home to get my stuff, and then I moved in.
Right.
With my girlfriend at the time. And but then I've been here ever since.
That's insane. So then what was the next thing that happened then? Because when you move up, when I find that when people move up to New York for a specific job, when they get done with their job, they have kind of an ego hit of like, all right, I didn't have to struggle. I came to New York. That's not going to be me. And then it is them. And they're like, oh crap. I got to get a day job. When's my next paycheck coming in?
Right. Well, I felt like, look, I can come up here and do this Broadway show. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to North Carolina. Shakespeare Festival will welcome me with open arms. I think they will welcome me with open arms.
They're still waiting for you, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's done now. So
they called me up. They're like, if you ever talk to Terry.
Yeah. Waited too long. So I was in the show, and it was running for a couple years, and then it went on the road, and the National didn't do so good. So at one point they said, let's take Jim Dale and Glenn Close out for a sit down in San Francisco and Los Angeles, and they asked me to go out and be the ringmaster and understudy Jim Dale, which I did, mm-hmm. and then I ended up doing his Sunday matinees. As Barnum. Wow. And what happened during that time was one of my friends in the show went to London to go see Cats and came back to me and said, you got to go audition for Cats because there's this role of Rum Tum Tugger you're perfect for, so you need to go audition. I said, okay. So I get back to New York. I asked my agent, hey, give me an audition for Cats. He goes, okay. And then I hear back from him. He says, well, they don't want to see you. They're looking for a star. They're looking like John Travolta or Rex Smith or somebody like that. I said, oh, that's too bad. Ask again. So he asks again, comes back to me, says, they don't want to see you. I went, shit. At the time, so this is at the time I was married to an English lady, and she had friends in London who were very like the royalty. Princess Miriam of Johor of Malaysia was her best friend, but she lived in London. She calls up Miriam and says, Miriam, do you know anybody that's got money in Cats? She goes, oh yeah, my friend, this. Well, my husband's trying to get an audition. They won't see him here in New York. Can he come over to London, maybe audition for it? She says, let me check. So she calls her friend who had money in it, who called the producer, who called the general manager, who called the company manager, and the casting people said, yeah, if he wants to come over. So on my own nickel, I flew to London, got the audition, went in, auditioned for Gillian Lynn, and then, I left, and then my agent called me 3 or 4 days after I got back and said, oh, you got an audition for Cats, which I did.
In New York.
In New York for the New York company. That was in April. So my audition was in July. And I went in there, did the audition, and got the role. And it just so happened it was on my birthday as well. So
that's crazy cool. And then, I mean, this is international fame and sensation. And Rum Tum Tugger, I think, is one of the most memorable of all of the ensemble of Cats. So I think this probably stuck you out, pushed you into the head of the race of other people that maybe were starting out at the same time you were, right? And then where did Les Mis come in? Where did, as you're going on, you get to work with so many amazing stars, Glenn Close and Nathan Lane and Bibi Noor. Just Jesus, like the list of people you have gotten to share the stage with. Okay, first off, what is your pinch me moment? What is your most recent pinch me moment?
My most recent pinch me moment?
Yes.
I would have to say we were shooting our last season 3 of Foundation. And we were in Prague shooting, but at the beginning of the shoot, they said, you're going to have a love interest this season. I went, great.
Spoiler.
And anyway, and I said, well, who is it? And they said, do you know Cherry Jones?
Whoa.
And I went,
I do know Cherry Jones.
I do know. We're an acquaintance. We know each other. I do. She's coming onto the show. That was a pinch me moment. Working with Cherry Jones.
Cherry's so great.
Big pinch me moment.
Oh, well, put a pin in Foundation. I'm coming back to that. All right. So then, Cats, you're this big Rum Tum Tugger star. You got your cod piece. It's everywhere on all the billboards all over the places. And so then, what did the offers? I mean, did you get auditions out of this that were unexpected from that point on? No,
not really. No, I remember I remember auditioning for Saul in Rags. That was the next show I did, was Rags after Cats. And I remember, maybe I might have been offered it, but I remember being out of town in Boston, and the same guy who I was in Barnum with was in Rags with me, and he came one day. He said, I just got back from London. There's this show called Les Mis, and you are perfect for this role of Javert. You ought to get an audition. I went, okay. So I called up my agent. Hey, Lou, get me an audition for Les Mis. Okay. Hey, Terry. Yeah, what? Well, they don't want to see you. I was, what? Well, ask him again. Calls me back. They don't want to see you. I went, oh, what? Really? I've got shows under my belt now. What's going on? One day I'm walking to the Equity Building, and out comes one of the casting directors for Les Mis. And I beg him to let me come in for an audition. And it was coincidental. Please just let me come in for anything. He goes, okay, all right, Ter, why don't you come in for Enjolras, the revolutionary, who's a tenor. I'm not a tenor. But I said, okay, great. I go home, I get my audition, and my agent calls me up. Oh, I got you an audition.
Come on, Lou.
Really? And so I decide I'm going in for Javert no matter what. My hair is very long and dark. I wear a black suit. I sing the song from Jacques Brel called The Port of Amsterdam. And
I've done Jacques Brel at Raleigh Little Theater.
Oh, man.
RLT with Haskell Fitzsimmons. You ever work with Haskell?
The Lost Colony.
Yeah.
He was the rabbit in my Alice in Wonderland's children's show.
Oh, man. I love that guy. Oh, I miss him. Such a great director.
Love him. Anyway, I go in dressed like Javert. I walk into the audition. They go, Terry Mann. I walk over. There they all are sitting. Claude Michel Schomburg, Alain Boublil, Trevor Nunn, John Caird. And I start to sing, and I'm looking over them, but I notice Claude Michel looking at the cast list, and he looked up at me, and he looks at the cast list again, and he looks over at Trevor, and he goes,
mouthing Javert.
And he circled my name, and so the rest is history.
No kidding.
So there are 2 times, where you kind of have to help your break along,
Well, sometimes not sometimes, all the time, you're only as good as your last project. And then that's, especially when you're a casting director, I suspect, and you're seeing hundreds or thousands of people every month. right? It's unconscious bias or maybe even conscious bias. Like they can't see you outside of what they just saw you in.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really, really tough. And I mean, I don't know. I hope Lou realizes what you did in all of this.
I don't know. We parted paths a long time ago. So
as careers evolve.
Yeah.
Speaking of evolution, all right, Great Gatsby is, I got to say, not a show I would have expected to see you in.
Well, me neither, but they called.
So what is your past experience with Gatsby, and then like what's it been like being in this current revival?
Read the book in high school. I barely remembered it. Saw the movie with Robert Redford and Mia Farrow and Bruce Dern, and I thought it was amazing. I mean, I just thought, wow, tremendous. And then, I didn't go see the one with Leo DiCaprio in it. But I was literally up at ART, American Repertory Theater up in Boston, with Diane Paulus doing Romeo and Juliet. I got home from that project in, the beginning of October? I don't know. And the next day, I get an email from Nathan Tyson, who wrote the lyrics for Gatsby, who also was the lyricist on Tuck Everlasting.
Yeah.
So, here again, somebody calls you up and says, "Hey, Claire, I think you're going to get an offer to come in to do Wolfsheim in Gatsby." And I went, "Okay, great." So, I go see it. I go, well, my gosh, that's cool, because you're only on stage about 9 minutes. And then you have a song at the top of Act 2, and then you're sitting down a lot. For my age, 8 shows a week, that's a perfect fit.
That's still a Princess track. I would take it.
That is a Princess track. Yes, sir.
I love that. So has that been really, I guess, in this role, coming back on such a grand scale in this amazing production, that you don't have to bust your ass 8 shows a week, right? Like, nothing against Princess tracks. You can come in, I could say, like, there are no small parts, only small actors, right? To quote that. You can come in for your 9 minutes and be the most remembered character in the entire damn show.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, absolutely. I think what I loved, because I hadn't been on stage since Tuck or Neverland. I'm not sure which was, maybe it was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and I'd been living in foundation land and TV land for so long. It was so, rejuvenating to come into the show, to be with all of these wonderful young people doing this thing, and the camaraderie, the ensemble of it all, the energy we give to one another. I'd forgotten how much that was so much a part of what I did for the previous 4 decades as an actor. That is so special that unless you're doing it, you have no idea how important and how it changes you, it grows you, it makes you feel so much a part of something bigger than you. So that's been the great thing. And when I went and saw the show, I just loved the show. I just thought it was, you're getting bang for your buck on this thing. Beautiful numbers, beautiful sets, great stagecraft, an amazing story to be told. And then the actors who do this thing are just extraordinary.
Yeah. No, it's one of those works of literature, like, again, to see it lived out on stage in such a grand way. I think like the set and the costumes and everything. I mean, there's actual cars that you're driving around on the stage. This thing is at a scale that I would have never pictured reading the book. Right. And it's coming out, and it really is amazing. Like you said, the talent on stage too. It's like, bar none, I think, yourself included, everyone is just putting together this perfect product that just works really, really well.
Good.
Yeah. You mentioned Foundation Land. So in the TV film world, like the Critters series of movies is a few years old. But when did you start getting into TV and film then? Because like we were talking about at the beginning, that was all West Coast, and you seem to be all East Coast based so far.
Well, the trick of it is, when I was in the 80s, soap operas were still alive and well and kicking in New York. So, once you get to New York, even though, film and television, the hub was L.A., it was still happening in New York. And if you could get on a soap opera, you know, that was great. You're making some money. You're going to work every day. So, you know, I did that, you know, did guest spots on soap operas and then did Law and Order started happening, you know, doing guest spots on that. You know, you get on the I wouldn't call it the short list, but you get into the cast, as you put it, you get into the casting director's, you know, Rolodex.
Yeah.
And they call you up. And so that's how I was just doing it. And I got Critters because Dodie Pettit, who was in Cats with me, her boyfriend, Richie Vetters, was ran a studio, and he had friends who were coming in to make the album, the music for Critters. And they asked me if I would like to do this role of, you know, Johnny Steele, an Ugg, an alien.
And so it's just an offer, like you get.
Like you get every now and then. You want to come do this?
Wow. And then, 4 movies later.
4 movies later. Yeah. One of them I wasn't even in. They just used footage of me. I still got paid for it, though. But that's
of course. Likeness, man. That ironclad contract. Yeah. That is very interesting. And then Foundation. So were you actively like, you know, taking a break from theater? You're like, I'm just going to go and do this TV film thing for a while, because Foundation is no small production. Like, this is heavy. It's sci-fi. It's a lot of effects.
Yeah. I had done Sense8 before, which was
canceled prematurely. Also one of my favorite shows.
I agree with you. It was special, really, really special. You know, you just kind of do things. Yeah, I'll go for this thing. I'll go for that thing. And we were doing Pippin on Broadway, you know, and casting director, Carmen Cuba came to see it and with a friend and said, oh, I think this guy could do Sense8. I don't know how she got me playing the crazy King Charlemagne to playing Mr. Whispers in Sense8. But anyway, I went in and I read, and then they flew me to Chicago to audition for the Wachowskis, which I did and got it. Foundation, my agent said, you got an audition for this thing called Foundation. Blah, blah. I said, well, I don't have to go on. I can't go on tape for it. They won't know it's alive. You go. This is one of the last times I think they asked people to come in, because I went into the casting office and read at a table with the casting director. And
so this 2019, early 2020?
Yeah. 19. It would have been August 2019. Yeah.
So then, did you start filming before COVID, or were you shut down? Or was it paused, or were you actually interrupted?
We started in the end of October 2019. We started shooting.
Yeah.
We started shooting. We shot to March on March 1st, we shut down production. Everybody went home because COVID was around.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
For 2 weeks. Of course. That's what everybody thought.
Yeah. And then it was 6 months?
I don't know. How far along season 1 were you when you had shut down? Was that tough to like take that pause?
Well, we had started the 1st of November. Then we shut down for 3 weeks for the holidays. And we started back up middle of January, got through January. In February, we were hearing rumblings of places in Germany and Switzerland shutting down because of this flu that was taking over.
Yeah.
And then they said, no, it's a strain. It's a COVID thing. That's what it all. So I don't know. We weren't that far along. Maybe 3 or 4. We were shooting out of sequence. So
don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the episode. Like, looking back at the finished product of what Foundation is and has become, did you have any idea the scale it would be when you were filming it, when you were there in person with everybody else on set? Like, how much of what you were using was practical versus just blue screen or green screen?
Almost all of it was practical. Because
really?
We traveled to locations around the world to get those looks.
No kidding.
Now some of it was blue screen. If you were in the chambers inside of the, you know, where they held court and all that, you know, throne room, and some of that was blue screen to fill that all in. But when Lou and all of them are in the waters, you know, you shoot that in Malta because they have the biggest underwater tank in the world that everybody shoots at sea stuff because it looks like infinity when you're shooting across because it's right by the ocean. But I had I tried to read the books and they were so dense. And what they were taking from the books as a story was bits and pieces. It wasn't, the lineage of it,
I enjoy the foundation, the concept, just the physics behind it. When you can get the physics right in space travel shows or movies or whatnot, I think that takes it to a whole new level. That's why like Interstellar to this day still holds up because all the theoretical physics around black holes and time travel and all this stuff is real. The way that Battlestar Galactica would, like, you in space, it's silent. There's no engine noise in space because there's no molecules to carry the sound. It's space. It's empty. And then, like all of a sudden you're turning and then, you can turn around the other way. You don't need a bank like you do in an atmosphere. There's no atmosphere. Right. So all of this stuff about like extended sleep and the way that, wormholes and FTL travel, of course, we can't disprove in this point, but everything else, the physics of Foundation is so real to me. Yeah. And then like, you can be younger than your offspring because you were in extended sleep for a certain amount of time, and then like all the cloning stuff that you're into. I think this is all so fascinating.
Yeah.
And then, for you as a person, as Terry, do you get into this stuff too? Or are you just showing up on set and you're like, I'm just going to say my lines and, make a character out of this? But are you personally, do you get excited as I am to watch?
I got excited because I was cast in this role, and I sort of did a Cliff Note version of the books after that, and to try to get myself situated. Foundation was George Lucas's inspiration to do Star Wars. So I'm going, so we're just doing the sort of like, Star Wars on steroids and more palace intrigue and more of the technical and the whole mystery of how you jump space and all of that. And some of this is not made up, but if you're folding time, which is a concept in theoretics, and in quantum theories, so they jump on that and they make it a real thing. They just take that moment of, here's where we're real, and here's a little bit of fiction to help it along. And I found that to be really exciting.
Yeah. I do want to go back and read the original books, or maybe get you to read them as an audiobook. That's what you hire you. I would listen to you read the original books because I think they were written, correct me if I'm wrong, it was a trilogy written in the 50s.
Yep.
That George Lucas read, and then that inspired him to write what we know as the Star Wars thing. Yeah, so exactly. The story of Foundation is so old. Old. It's less than 100 years old, 75 years old, but it's still so good. I love when stuff that was written long before we knew about what we know now about space travel still holds up. Right? Look at Star Trek, too. I'm going off on such a tangent. The communicators, those are just freaking cell phones.
They're cell phones. They flip.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you've also got experience being a teacher and you mentor many performers. So like, what is something that you've pulled into your everyday that you wish that actors starting out or that people every day would work into their daily lives?
Well, thanks for bringing that up, because I did teach for about 10 years, and I've done tons of workshops and master classes over the years, and I came up with this sort of axiom for being an actor. It's twofold. One of it has to do with auditions, but the first part is, it goes like this: there are no wrong choices, and have no fear, but be specific about what you are when you take a. Where did the balloons come from?
It's the iOS. I think it thinks you were doing a peace sign or something.
Oh my God!
Yeah. So you can do this too. You have to makes the heart.
So that's the axiom I sort of taught on. You ta-da. Yeah, have no fear. there are no wrong choices, and be specific. Now, how that's applied, like in an audition, or you audition. And I remember Lin-Manuel saying this once. We'd taken a bunch of students of ours, our Triple Arts program, which is a sort of like a musical theater boot camp that we used to do, and we took them to see early on Hamilton and all. We had a talk back, and they all came out. And Lynn said, auditioning is your job. That's your job. Your job is to go audition. Your job in there is to go tell a story, and do it as best you can with no fear. Be specific, and there are no wrong choices. Be you doing that, and that's the job. Because once you get the job, that's the icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll never forget Chris Jackson said, how do I get to be up there where you are? And Chris Jackson said, well, you just got to work harder than anybody else in the room. And I always, all of that stuff I just said is all part and parcel to the nexus, to the paradigm, I think, of being an actor, being successful in your own mind.
I enjoy that a lot. I think that is very smart, very, very good advice. And it sounds like something too that you embody, a piece of advice that I was given that I take with me is be the person that others want to work with the next time.
Mm-hmm. Be the person that you want to be in the room with. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because again, you keep talking the stories that you have told. You're like, well, I just happen to know this person, but knowing them doesn't mean they want to work with you again. And I think that is the subtext there that is very important and should not be overlooked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So smile, be friendly, be warm, and be forgiving of yourself and of others.
Yeah.
Because you got to work with these people your whole career if you're lucky enough to have one like this.
Exactly.
I get that. Is there any movie adaptation that you wish would get turned into a musical? I mean, you've originated Beast. I never thought that would make a great musical, but here, look where we are, right? We're about to launch another tour. That continues to live on.
Can't think of anything off the top of my head about it.
What about Critters the musical?
Yeah, I think they've done them all. I don't even think about that. What movie out there could be Jaws?
Well, we kind of had The Shark is Broken, but that's a different thing. Can Lee Pace sing? Can we bring Foundation the musical?
Yeah, he can sing.
Yeah, so let's start working on Foundation the musical.
Foundation the musical. Oh God. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, imagine the cool tech we can put into the show to do like the time jumping.
They time jump, they fly, they clone, they kill each other, they come back, they kill each other again. They fly.
We can get like some really cool Groundhog Day illusions. So like we think you're over here, but you're actually over there and it's your clone. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. It's writing itself. It's practically right. You hear this? We need the Wachowskis to come in here and write the Foundation musical with Matt Stone and Trey Parker. There we go.
Wow. That's a crew.
That's a crew right there. Yeah, Casey Nicholaw is going to direct, of course. And choreograph, because that's who he is. Yeah. All right, so as we wind down here, I want to play a little fun game that I play with everyone these days called Plot in 60 Seconds. And what that means is that I'm going to put 60 seconds up on the screen.
Oh,
you're going to give me a list. You're going to give me a number, 1 through 16. It corresponds to a list, a show I have on my list. And then you give me the plot of that show in 60 seconds.
Shit. Okay.
So 1 through 16.
8.
That we've already had. That was Rent. We just had Rent. Give me another one. I want to do a different one. 1 is your wife. You should know this. Chicago. Go.
60 seconds remaining.
It's about Roxy Hart and she and Velma Kelly and they're going to prison but she gets goes to prison because she killed her boyfriend, but it's all a ruse. And then there's the Billy is the lawyer who comes and gets her out of the jail remaining. And it's all a big satire about how you can, as long as you're famous, you can get out of anything.
And then become president at the end. All right. Yeah. I'll take it. That's good. That works. Wow. And we almost got political, but we didn't. Good. All right.
Yeah.
So as we wind down again now, 3 standard closing questions I ask everyone. The first one simply is just what motivates you?
What motivates me? Oh my God. That's such a good question. And I don't I want to be interested.
Interested.
I just want to wake up and be interested in what,
Explain. Dive into that. I think I can take it as two different ways, and I want to know what way you're talking about.
I think that has to do with, you get up and you want to be present, and you want to be, almost childlike. You're in the present, and so what motivates, and that always speaks to being, artful about something, or having an idea. Maybe that's what I mean. I just always want to have an idea of doing something.
Oh,
even
that
if
is beautiful.
Just have an idea.
I like that. All right, so you probably answered this already, but what advice would you give to your younger self and younger people listening now, starting out down a similar path?
I would say, be kind. Above all else, be kind
To yourself and to others.
to yourself and to others, and and have no fear, and be specific. And there are no wrong choices in the theater. Now, in life, that's a different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Last question. Hardest one. If you could only see one show for the rest of your life, but you can see it as many times as you want, what would you see?
A show or a movie?
You interpret.
Uh,
Would you rather sit in a theater and watch something over and over again, or sit in a movie theater and watch something over and over again for the rest of your life?
Casino Royale.
Such a unique answer. Why?
I love that movie. I watch that movie once every 3 months.
Really?
Yeah, I watch it. Daniel Craig. I watch that movie at least once every 3 months.
Have you ever had the pleasure of working with him? Does he know that?
No.
Well, let's put it out there. Your next thing, let's see. So Daniel Craig is actually coming in to replace in Gatsby one of the ensemble characters. He doesn't need a big role. So you guys you heard it here first. Breaking news: Daniel Craig in Gatsby. He's actually going to be the car, so he comes out. He's
he's going to be. He can be the chauffeur. He's the chauffeur.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Get these major celebrities coming in, just doing like the smallest roles, and be like, "Hi."
Yeah.
So where can we find you online on social media?
Oh, I don't do it.
Good. No, you don't make a face. That's like, I think it's healthy. Healthy. It's a necessary evil.
It is.
For some of us, but I think if you can stay off it and still have a successful and solid career, then why?
Well, I'm out there. You can always find each other if you want to.
Yep. Well, I'm out there. I am on Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Leave a rating if you like what you heard. You can help the podcast spread by telling your friends. Go see Terrence Mann in Gatsby as Meyer Wolfsheim. He started January 8th and will be there through April 20th at this point, unless contracts change. Who knows? Thanks to Jukebox the Ghost for the intro and outro music. Terrence Mann, I keep calling you Terry. Terry Mann, thank you so much. I've had such a great time looking forward, chatting with you, and I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Seeing you on red carpets and everything, I could tell you're just fun. You're fun to talk to.
Oh man, right back at you. Thank you. This was a real joy.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.